Your brother introduces you to his boss at Thanksgiving, and he skips your name. This is Polly, the one who did really well for himself. Not my brother, not Polly, just the one who did well. You laugh it off, shake the hand, pass the mashed potatoes. But something in your chest tightens, and you can't name it yet. It takes the drive home to figure out what happened. You weren't introduced as family. You were introduced as a number. Nobody warns you about this part of getting rich. Every finance video shows you the mountain, the number, the house. Nobody shows you the other side, in your own living room. 2 years ago, you crossed $3.1 million. Quietly. No party. Just a Tuesday when your equity vested. A number in an app changed color, slightly. You'd spent 11 years building it, piece by piece. First as an operations manager pulling $71,000 a year. Then equity in a software company that actually worked out. Then real estate bought when everyone said the market was too expensive. Then simply not touching the S&P 500 for a decade. You didn't feel different the day it happened. You felt tired. The number changed. You didn't. Everyone else did. It starts small. Your mother stops asking how you're doing and starts asking how things are doing. Vague enough that she doesn't have to say the word money. Specific enough that you both know what she means. Your college roommate, the one you haven't talked to in 4 years, texts you out of nowhere asking if you're free for coffee. You are. You go. 40 minutes in, he mentions he's thinking about starting a food truck and could really use a partner with some capital behind it. You say you'll think about it. You already know you won't do it. But now you're wondering, was this whole conversation about catching up? Or was it about this? That's the part nobody tells you. The money doesn't just buy things. It buys suspicion. It buys a second read on every conversation, every invitation, every hey, we should catch up. You start doing math in your head during small talk. You hate that you do it. You do it anyway. Your sister calls in March. She and her husband are $34,000 short on a down payment for a house in a decent school district, and she's not asking. She's just talking around it, hoping you'll offer before she has to. You do offer, because she's your sister, and you love her, and because refusing feels crueler than the awkwardness of accepting. You wire the money. She thanks you, genuinely, tearfully even. But 3 weeks later at your mother's birthday dinner, she introduces you to her husband's coworker the exact same way your brother did. This is Polly. She's doing incredibly well. Not sister. A category now. A resource with a name attached. You start to notice the pattern isn't cruelty. Nobody's trying to hurt you. It's simpler and somehow worse than that. You've become useful in a way you weren't before, and people can't help but relate to useful things differently than they relate to people. Here's the part that actually keeps you up at night. You start wondering about the people who don't ask you for anything. Are they being polite? Are they saving it for later? Are they quietly resentful, watching you order the $34 entree without checking the price first, doing their own silent math about what your life must be like now? You test it once, almost by accident. At a work dinner, someone asks what neighborhood you live in, and instead of the honest answer, a $612,000 four-bedroom you bought 2 years before it appreciated 40%. You say something vague. Over near the east side. You watch their face. Nothing changes. And you realize you'd been bracing for a reaction that never came, because most people genuinely don't care as much as you think they do. It's a small relief. It doesn't last. Because then there's Marcus. Marcus was your closest friend for 9 years, the guy who helped you move apartments twice, who you called during your divorce at 1 a.m. because he was the only person who'd pick up. Marcus finds out about the money, not from you, but from your brother, at a barbecue, where your brother mentions the house casually, the way you'd mention the weather. Marcus doesn't say anything that day, but over the next 6 months, the texts get shorter. The invitations to things stop coming. You reach out. He's busy. You reach out again. He's swamped. You finally corner it. Months later, over beers he insists on paying for, even though you offered twice. He says it flat. It's just different now, man. I don't know how to be around it. Not around you. Around it. as if the money became a third person in every room you both walk into, and he'd rather not share space with it. This one is hard to admit, but here it is. Some of the people you don't lose to jealousy. You lose them to their own discomfort with being near something they don't have and don't know how to want, honestly. That's not their villainy. That's just what money does when it walks into a friendship that was built on both people having roughly the same amount of nothing. Your father is the strangest case of all. He's not proud, exactly, and he's not jealous either. He's careful, painfully, formally careful. Like you're a piece of furniture he's afraid to lean on too hard. He stops asking to borrow the truck. He starts insisting on paying for dinner even when it visibly stretches his fixed retirement income, because some part of him needs to prove the balance between you two hasn't flipped completely. You let him win that fight sometimes, because you understand what it's actually about. It was never about the $60 check. It was about who he still gets to be to you. Somewhere around month 8, after the money crossed $3 million, you do something you didn't expect. You start lying about small things. Not big lies, just quiet omissions. You don't mention the new car. You wear the same jacket you've had for 3 years to family events on purpose. You let your cousin assume the vacation was a work trip instead of something you paid for outright, because the alternative, watching her recalibrate how she sees you in real time, costs more than the vacation did. You start to understand something rich people rarely say out loud: silence isn't shame. Silence is armor. And you didn't build the armor because you're ashamed of what you built. You built it because you got tired of watching every relationship quietly renegotiate its terms the second the number came up. But here's where it turns, because this story isn't actually about loss. It's about who's left standing when the noise settles. Your college friend Diana, the one who never once asked you for anything, who still splits the check evenly, even when you protest, who calls you at 9 p.m. just to complain about her terrible boss the same way she did when you were both making $38,000 a year. Diana becomes the person you trust most in the world during this stretch, not because she's poorer or richer than you, because she never once let the number change how she talked to you. She still argues with you about dumb things. She still tells you when you're wrong. That, it turns out, is worth more than every relative who suddenly remembers your birthday. You start to see the split clearly now.